Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Waverly, where they're preparing for the 60th annual Waverly Holiday Basketball Tournament, the longest running holiday tournament of Class A in the state. Now, you don't keep a tournament like this rolling without teamwork, and a lot of it. Well, Shane Gray, when you're getting ready for the Waverly Holiday Tournament, everything's got to be just right, doesn't it?
Yeah, everything all the way to polishing the trophy. I've got a list of things that I have to do, and this is one of them. So
this is great. This trophy really shows what this year's tournament is about. This is the 60th year for the Waverly Holiday Tournament.
That's correct.
So you actually have 59 winners already listed on there and getting ready to put the 60th one on.
59, yeah. And I tell you, this one right here, it's always kind of a prized spot for most schools.
This one down here.
That's the one. And you know, we display this trophy every year in our hallway. And you know, you'd be amazed the school kids who see it every day just kind of take it for granted and walk past it. But on that first day of the tournament, those kids who have played and those people from those communities that have won that tournament, they come right back and always want to make sure. And the reason I know that, because one year, might have been my first year, 2005 with Auburn. Good school, great following. I believe that was one of the oversights that I forgot to have made for the following year. And I was reminded that first day of the tournament how important it was to make sure that thing gets done. So now it's the very first thing we do when the tournament's over is take that plate off and send it off to be printed. So
there's a lot to do before a tournament like this. You're the tournament director.
Right.
You're also the athletic director.
Correct.
We're looking down here now. We've got these banners. We're going to hang these in the areas of the gym where these schools' fans are going to sit. So they got their own little section there. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, they, you know, we used to have name plates that we would put up on the wall, and, you know, as people would come in, they're marked on the door where they go. But sometimes they were hard to see. The banners just kind of add a little bit of color. I think give each one of the schools and each one of the community a little bit of ownership to that corner of the
and
gym.
You've got the mascot on there. They look pretty cool.
So
they look real cool.
They like them, and you know, it's one of those little things that just a little touch to the tournament. I think we do that probably a lot of tournaments don't. The people I think appreciate that.
Yeah, right over your shoulder, we're looking up at there's this year's brackets of the Waverly Holiday Tournament. 16 teams. You always have 16 teams.
16 teams. Yep.
And generally you have the same teams, but there are some variation year to year.
We have had some variation, and we've been fortunate. We've had very few changes over the years. And any change that we really have had has been like with the North Mac High School, a consolidation of Vernon Girard. So we didn't lose anybody. We kept the traditions of those two communities, and they stayed in the tournament, and we were able to add another team or another school to our tournament. So it's been great. You know, this is probably the marquee of the gymnasium that week. People come in and they follow that bracket board. You know, we change that bracket board after every game. We have kids and a crew that they go up. They put the winners on one side, you know, the team that lost on the other. Tried to, you know, through the years we've tried to fancy it up, you know, and try to include a little bit of the holiday spirit, turn the basketball into like a Christmas ornament, things like that. So it's the one thing that people look at, and they look at it constantly.
I'll tell you, the one that draws my eye though is the state of Illinois with your light system over here. Now this is kind of it's really cool. It's great if you're still in the tournament because your light is still on.
You know, you'd be amazed.
But if your light's not on, that's a bad sign.
It's a bad sign.
Yeah, it's elimination.
And you may still be playing in the tournament if your light's not on. You're just not playing to have your name put on that plaque. And you know, it's one of those neat little things that it's been around for a long time. And we've just tried to keep it going. It was a great tradition. People come in and they like to see that board lit up, and as the day goes on, those old towns and those lights get darker and darker. And if you're the only two shining, you know that you're having a good week that week.
Good news. Hey, I want to just embarrass you a little bit.
Sure.
You have been a part of this tournament for a long time. I'm looking at this fella here handling the ball for Waverly. This is back in 1986.
86. Yeah, I think we played Auburn in the championship game that year.
It's a big part of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's been, you know, I was born and raised in Waverly, and as a student, I was a helper with the tournament, with the foul boards, and at one point in time, putting those names on there.
And you're still climbing up to get those lights turned on too.
Climbing, not as much and not as quickly, but yeah, we still do the tournament, and you know, I was able to play in it. I was able to be a head coach in the tournament, and you know, with coming back to Waverly to work, I've been able to be the director of the tournament. So it's really one of the highlights of my life as far as my career goes. And sometimes when you're having bad days, you're thinking maybe I should be doing something else. This is really the one thing that, you know, keeps me coming back and saying, no, I don't want to leave the tournament. So absolutely love it.
Yeah, well, good luck this year.
Thank you very much.
Jerry Beeler, across from the gym during the holiday tournament, you set up a history room. And you have gobs of information for people to go through, to see the old teams, to see the old trophies, to look at the scorecards, to see the history of the tournament. And it's really one of the things that I guess draws people. I mean, basketball's fun, but if they want to take a break from basketball, they can go over to the history room and get their fill, can't they?
I appreciate stopping by and sharing our materials. That's what it's for. It's to actually what it's there for is to preserve the past.
Yeah. And you've been doing this for some years, haven't you?
I've been in and out for several years, but in 2000, our former principal Gary Stritzel started the 2000 celebration for our 50th. And that's when we started the history room. And when we got done, Gary said, well, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, there's only one thing to do with it, is continue on. And now we're in our 10th year
that's
of
wonderful.
having it. And it's, you mentioned where it's located. Actually, I refer to as a home away from home.
Because that's where you live for the week, right?
4 days. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is not nearly as elaborate as your history room, but I want to show some of the things that you make available to people. And you have taken on a lot of this. This Waverly Holiday Tournament book here starts in 1951. This is a scrapbook, and this is just one of many. And it goes through 1979. And just to sort of give a flavor for what you've done, you have clipped or asked people to clip every available article from the teams involved, haven't you?
I tried to.
And you get a lot of cooperation, don't you?
Oh, greatly. Just the other day I found 3 papers from 1990 on my desk. Not that they've been sitting there all that time, but somebody gave them to me last year and clipped out things I didn't have.
Fascinating. You know, if you had a child or a relative of some kind that played in this tournament years and years and years ago, you could probably find something about that game.
I would think so. I would think
in all
we try.
These books.
And if you can't find it, bring it to us.
And you'll find a place
and
for
we'll
it.
find a place for it. Yes.
Okay. Now these are your scrapbooks.
Yes.
But you also do more detailed stuff.
Yeah.
Let's walk over here and take a look.
This is one of several copies of the tournament scorebook. And we got the original ones placed back in safety, but we made copies of this. And so we have every scorebook of 1951 through 2009.
Every game.
Every game.
Every game, the official score. And like you say, you make copies because they would get tattered and sort of torn up. But isn't that something? So every score, every official score. That's amazing. And the programs, because every year you develop a new program. So
the program has a little interesting story behind it. When we first started this, there was a gentleman here who used to write sports named Bob Doerr, and I'd always get the programs for him. And when he passed away, he left them to me. But that wasn't known by everybody. So when I went there one day to turn a key in, they said, yeah, we got them right over here. They're getting ready to throw them away. So
oh, that would have been a shame. 43rd, and you go right on through. It's just amazing.
And the program's got all the information, pictures. And
Sure. And it's fun to watch how they've changed, too.
Oh,
because
yeah.
These look real old-fashioned now, don't they?
Yeah.
And this is from the same thing from the 2000s. And, of course, they get more looking updated as you go. Now, everybody in Waverly knows who Jim Dunseth was.
They do.
He had a lot to do with preserving this tournament, didn't he?
Right.
And passed away in 1999. And so you've sort of taken the mantle from him, haven't you?
Yeah, we I think tournament director Shane Gray is going to show you the championship trophy down here later on in the hallway.
Look at that. There's a picture of the first winning team, and that would have been what I think Girard, huh?
Girard, 1951, where they beat Kincaid 52-45.
And you go right on through the years. Fantastic that you've been able to document and keep all of this.
And this book also contains a game-by-game results, and also contains the championship box scores from all the games.
Wow. Okay, what do we have here?
This is just my single copy of what you and Jim Reshley talked about earlier in the program as far as the
sure, page by page,
yeah.
right. Okay, everything, all the records and everything are in there.
And this will go up sheet by sheet along on the wall.
Why mascots have tails. This would tell anybody about the Illinois mascots.
Right.
Okay. And here's another interesting thing you do. For instance, you've taken it on to write a history of the Verdon
And Gerard.
And Gerard participation in this tournament. And of course, they're in it every year, aren't they?
Till this year.
Till this year.
Now they're coming as North Mac. And in there it has the history for each team. It also has a list of all the players and coaches from all those years, and it has box scores, and then it has a pictorial events there.
This is on loan to you. This
This is
trophy.
on loan from the Gerard Alumni Association for our 60th celebration this year.
So with the Waverly tournament, the winning school keeps the trophy.
Definitely.
It's not a traveling day. It keeps the trophy.
Right.
Yeah. And in this case, it was. Did you say Gerard?
Yes, they salvaged that right at the end when they were getting rid. When they were cutting down those two schools.
So you'll have, what you do is you open your history room and you give people a break from basketball and they get to come in.
Right, they come in there and there never a day passes that somebody didn't come in and relate something to us or has a question that we make sure the answer's there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
You're a great resource.
I thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Don Huddleston, for more than 30 years, when December rolled around, it meant you were going to be in Waverly, didn't it?
You know, that was always a part of Christmas. You had the family in and you opened the presents. The day after Christmas, you were going to be at the Waverly tournament. And I always worked the 9 o'clock game on the first day of the tournament. And that went back to when Mason Campbell was here. And he asked me and Jerry Fall, he said, "What do you guys do?" And we said, "We're farmers." "What time do you get up?" I said, "Oh, 5 o'clock in the morning." He said, "Good. I want you to work the 9 o'clock game, because once I get one set of officials here, I know I can keep going all day." So we were always here early.
If nobody else shows up, you got the whole day, huh?
Weather got bad, we were here.
As a matter of fact, Don, out of those 30-some years, you officiated 18 finals.
Yes, and worked the finals every year there for several years, and then I moved away. I went over to the Charleston tournament, Vandalia, Williamsville, worked a lot of different tournaments, Redbird Arena, but there's nothing like working at Waverly.
What's different about it?
The atmosphere, I guess. It's so close, it's always packed out. We've been here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I can recall a few years ago, Verdon had a great team. They went to the Super Sectional that year. They played Pawnee. It was a #1 seed against a #9 seed. And that game went overtime, and it was standing room only. I've been here for the championship game when they would have a TV in the lunchroom and 200 or 300 people down there. You couldn't see the end lines.
It was so
crowded.
Jammed in here, huh?
Oh, it's unbelievable. The game starts at 6:30 on the final night, and you know it's full at 6 o'clock. If you're not here at 6 o'clock, don't come. Because it's full.
Now you've retired. You're going to miss this, aren't you?
Well, they've called and wanted me to come back that night. I think they're having a little something special. They told me to bring the truck. I don't know. Shane, he didn't say a livestock trailer. I hope he's not giving me a horse or something, but I will be here for the championship. And the crew that I work with for years, Denny Held, John Fall, and Alan Pogenpole, and he'll be working his first championship here. And I told him, I said, it'll be a life-changing experience. You'll love it.
Neat. Well, thanks for visiting with us.
No problem.
Art Arrett, we're looking at the first of its kind ever. You invented the breakaway rim. This is the one, the first one.
The absolute first one.
And it's on display, not on display, but it's in the possession, also one of them, of the Smithsonian Institution. So it's an American original.
That's right.
Yeah, and you are too.
Well, could be.
You're from Verdon.
That's right.
And one of the first places this rim was installed was at this holiday tournament in Waverly.
Paris, the first time I ever played a basketball game were on these type of rims.
Is that right? Well, and so they're honored. It's one more honor for the tournament, isn't it?
I guess so.
And for you, I guess, as well. These are manufactured now by what, 17 different rim companies?
There were 17 people that I was licensed to. Mainly it was 12, or 15, but mainly that's about how many.
Yeah. I'm going to pick this up and kind of show it because it's kind of hard to see how this works. Now I'm going to hold it upside down because this is how you actually would see the rim itself, but it would be turned the other way if it were in use. And if one of those huge guys gets on there and hangs on this rim. You've designed it so instead of glass shooting all over the place, it actually releases. The rim releases, doesn't it?
That's right. There's a magnet in here that holds it taut until it breaks loose, and here's a John Deere spring right here that it compresses it, and if you'd want more tension on, you'd tighten this nut a little tighter to make the spring tighter, so it would be harder to pull down, and that resets itself.
A John Deere spring. Are you a farmer by any chance?
Yeah, well, yes, I grew up on the farm, run the grain elevator.
And you're an inventor too.
Well, I guess so.
Isn't that fantastic? And these are in use all over the country.
As far as I know, they're all over the United States.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to make a joke, but of course it's made you a very wealthy man, hasn't it?
Oh, no, not really. It was a lot of legal expense.
You inventors, you know, you always say, yeah, that everybody else got the money.
Yeah, you have to have all those lawyers, you know.
Art, thanks for showing us this. This is really neat. And you brought this in. I mean, this weighs a ton. So I want to thank you for going to the trouble.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Scott Lewis, this tournament has a lot of history. 60 years, longest running tournament in the state. You got the pleasure of getting to coach several teams in this tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a great experience for me to coach in this tournament, 16-team tournament. It's a big deal in this town, and it's really the town's identity. They're very proud of it, and it's ran really well, and kids looked forward to playing in it. So it was a little bit of an advantage to have your own tournament.
Well, you know, and as the host coach, you were the Waverly coach, you're kind of under a little bit of pressure. You want your team to do well and go somewhere in this tournament.
Oh, absolutely. When I was hired, Gary Stritzel said that there's two things I needed to do. One was to put together the program, and the other one was to win the tournament. So I got that idea at that point that there was a lot of pressure, and you know, people wanted you to do well. It's
your job to win the tournament. No pressure.
Yeah,
no,
nothing at all.
I want to hold up a couple of pictures because this is the picture of the 80 team. And you say this was probably the best team you ever had.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. They had finished up 28-2, and they won the tournament, and it was a great group of kids and a good basketball team.
Yeah, and this is a better photograph though, because this shows, and I really got to point you out because look at you up here, boy. You're gesturing. We're number one, and you looked a little bit younger yourself.
A little bit. Had the mustache then, so yeah, that was great.
But it was fun. Huh?
Oh yeah. We had a great time. Gyms was packed, and the town was behind you, and it was very emotional, and it was just a lot of fun.
You don't coach anymore, but I'll bet you probably come to some of these games, don't you?
Oh, I love to come back here. You see all the people that I spent 10 years with, and so it's good to see them. It's good to see some of the former players come back, officials that worked here in the tournament when I was here. So it's a great homecoming to come back for these 4 days.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, Jim Reschle, one of the things that sets the Waverly Holiday Tournament aside from others is that you have a history room that people can go through across from the gymnasium when the game's going on, and that's your office, because this book is this is your purview, isn't it? This is what you do.
I keep that, and I've done that for about the last 15 years. Before that, Jim Dunseth had done it for the previous 45 years, and he kept real good records, and I just kind of took it over when he was unable to do it anymore, and went from there.
After every game, you get the official scores, totals, and you start walking. I mean, there's no lag time here. You start working them into the history of the tournament, don't you?
And we're trying to keep it up by the quarters as we do this. I try and keep that on the internet so people that want to watch from the internet are able to do that.
No kidding.
As any records take place, we try and keep those, and I try and notify the people at the radio station and so on too, so they can be announcing those things too.
It really is a remarkable document when you look at it. You've got you've got a page here which is individual records in a single game, records for the tournament. You go back here and you start. This is starting in 1951. This has all the matchups and game-by-game scores. Anything that a person would want to know about a person that played in this tournament would be in here.
That's right.
That's
they had anything close to a record.
Anything close to a record.
Right.
And you're on the lookout for those records, aren't you?
Oh yeah, right. And I kind of know what things I need to be looking for since I put it together all the time. So that works out pretty good.
It's great. That's great. Well, this helps you a lot in the off season too, because you can go through this thing and say, we could improve this a little bit. We could include this or this or this, huh?
Yeah, we try to figure those things out. Mr. Beeler goes through it too, and he finds all my mistakes and points those out, and we work together on finalizing. finalizing it all the time.
Remarkable. Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Jerry Simons, WEAI in Jacksonville, has been broadcasting games at the Waverly Holiday Tournament for decades and decades. In fact, you personally have been in on it since 1968, is that right?
Right.
Now, we're not going to count up those years, but that's more than 30.
I'm old.
But you must be good, too, because they seem to like your style.
Well, it's fun coming here. You know, it's a reunion. You get to see the same people, a lot of the same teams, and everybody likes the tournament. Everybody knows one another. Yeah, I've been here for 40 years plus.
Yeah. And now you're still sports director at the station, and you have 8 people covering because you have 2 people at each game, I guess, and you can't broadcast every game, can you? Or you probably did when you were younger.
When we first began, Ron Tindick, who wound up being the mayor of Jacksonville later, Ron and I came to Waverly, and one day we did all the games at Waverly, then got in the car and drove to Centralia that night, and the next day did a couple of games in the Centralia tournament.
Man.
I think we listened to a ball game on the radio on our way to Centralia.
Well, now you have 8 people covering it, so it's not quite as hard a work. But since you're sports director, how will you schedule who calls the final game, for instance?
I'll decide what I want. I'm the old guy. Nobody argues with me.
That final game's probably a lot of fun, isn't it?
Oh, sure. My business partner at the radio station for a number of years was Don Hamilton. And Don played in this tournament. He went to Pawnee High School and played in the tournament. So he always wanted to be the play-by-play man of the championship game. For a number of years then, Don would do the play-by-play and I would keep stats. Now he's old like I am, and he has a daughter living in Seattle, and after 2 days of the tournament this year, he's going to go to Seattle and see her. I may get to do the championship game.
All right, you just might. Thanks.
Sure, thank you.
Buford Green, I love talking to you old reporters because you guys have been, you relish these kinds of things, these local stories and these local tournaments. You, just for the record, you wrote for the Jacksonville Journal-Courier for a long time and for the Springfield newspaper for a long time. And you just recently retired, just a couple of years ago. So you've been covering this tournament for, well, since the 1960s, early 60s.
Yes. I think 50 years.
50 years.
That's
Well, let's just
scary.
see. I think you're pretty close because I found this 1961 article by Buford Green. Athens wins 1961 Waverly. Buford, what was different or special about this tournament?
My first few years here, and it hasn't changed since, it was the people that make it. You're always treated so well here. Jim Dunseth and Russ Stultz, later Gary Strutzel, Jerry Beeler, Scott Lewis, always the good people around that took care of you. I guess the most amazing about the Waverly tournament is that the big tournaments in the state, the Centralia, Pekin, Peoria, they've all struggled over the years. They don't know who they're going to have from year to year. Not so here. It's the same teams virtually every year, and teams love coming here. I read or heard someone say this is probably the most well-documented tournament in the state. I believe that. We're
learning that today because I mean they have people assigned to do nothing but keep the history of this tournament. And you know that takes a lot of love.
It does.
Because that's hard to do.
Jerry Beeler, Jim Rushley, and others. It's amazing how documented it is. There's a room full of historical documents, and you look in the concession room every year. It's the same good people there, taking tickets. Same people in the parking lot. I'm sure others will tell you that people work their vacations around this. For a little school, a little community, it's a wonder.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, thanks for your insights on it.
Thank you, Mark.
Doug Bernard, wherever you are in the world, if you've got access to a computer, you can keep up with what's going on in the Waverly Holiday Tournament.
You sure can.
It's an amazing thing.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you've done, and you're the IT guy here. You had to develop this.
Yes.
And you've got it now where you say people in San Francisco, Alaska, who have lived here and have moved away, now they can keep up with the holiday tournament.
Sure do.
Would you just show us how it works?
Yes, I sure will. Right now, most people can stay up to date on scores by going to our schedule link off of WaverlyHolidayTournament.com. We keep up to date by the quarter, by the leading score. We even total the day's events, And we'll have a summary at the end of the tournament to show them who made all tournament teams, who won cheerleading trophies, and things like that. Yeah.
No kidding. Okay, so if I want to see where the bracket is, let's say I'm in California or something, and I want to see the bracket. Let me see what.
We have a bracket right here. It's in PDF form. It allows them to zoom in on it. It also allows them to print it. They can interact with that bracket right now, and we will tally these across as the tournament continues on throughout the 4 days.
Okay, now if I want to see some action, you've even got cameras, webcams.
We've got 4 cameras covering our courts. One of the most popular one is our interactive camera that's high definition, and it will allow you to interactively work with the court right there. You can expand it up. You have snapshot capability to take a picture at any time. You have sound from the court, and you can even zoom it in.
Oh, that's wild.
You can zoom it back out. You can make the camera move. It'll pan to wherever on the court you'd like for it to go.
That's fantastic. So if I've got a nephew or a niece playing here and I'm out of state, I can watch the game.
You've got them right here.
Fantastic. Well, as you can see, it's been 60 years, or will be 60 years this year, that the Waverly holiday tournament's been going on, and they do not only keep the past, keep up with the times as well. With another Illinois story in Waverly, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.